Good morning, everyone. Got an earlier start this morning. It's still nice and cool out. But today I wanted to talk about the basics of organic. We gave you a little introduction to my garden, but there's really some basic concepts that are very important for organic gardening. So I wanted to kind of go through that a little bit with you in a short video, so you'll have that information as you start actually doing your gardening. So the thing that's different between organic gardening or organic farming and conventional non-organic farming using chemicals is that with organic gardening, we're really feeding the microbes. So we're creating healthy soil, and those microbes in turn feed the plants. And that's really the most important concept to keep in mind when you're doing this. And it's very similar to our own bodies. We don't like stick some broccoli in a blender and stick it in a syringe and shoot it up. We eat it, and the microbes in our stomachs and our digestive system and the enzymes, just like the soil has microbes and enzymes, we digest that and change it into a form that our own bodies can use. And the same thing happens in the soil. We feed the microbes, and the enzymes and the microbes in the soil break down those nutrients that are amendments that we put in the soil, and they turn it into a form that the plants can use. And in the winter, the microbes are colder and they slow down, and you clearly see it. Everything kind of slows down. And then as things warm up, those microbes, they pick up speed. And so really, that's our job, is to feed the microbes. There's even times where I've put molasses down in my gardens, and it's feeding the microbes. It's not a nutrient for the plants. And they convert those sugars, into a form that the plants can use. And plants can use sugars as well. I mean, they like it too. Not just humans. So, and also we try and treat the organic environment as its own little ecosystem, its own microclimate and such. And so with that in mind, we do companion planting, and we rotate what we plant where, and we'll get a little more deeply into rotations and how that affects soil health. But these are really the basic important concepts that I wanted to share with you. So this is a very short video. That's it for now. We're going to talk about amending soils very soon. I'm hoping to get some of this out, later today, if not by tomorrow, with some of the actual how-to videos on how to start your garden from grass, how to get rid of the grass, how to create your beds, amend your soils, plant seeds directly and plant them in trays, and so forth. So those are our next installments that we're planning for you. So I hope you enjoy this beautiful Sunday morning. And those of you in France who are tuning in, thank you very much. And I'll try and make a point of speaking more slowly and more clearly, so you can understand my English. So have a good day. We'll see you soon. A bientôt. And I hope you're enjoying what we're doing. Bye-bye. Okay, so here we are again in sunny Florida. It's going to be a hot day, hotter than I like for the crops we have and this time of year. So we did a brief introduction to the, Well, that was fun. As I was filming and explaining how hot it was, my irrigation came on, which is exactly what it was supposed to do, because that's one way you can mitigate the heat here in Florida, is do some midday watering to kind of cool things off. So back to our subject matter. So we did the introduction to doing a vegetable garden, and now what I'd like to do is just jump right to it. How do you start a new garden? So we'll cover that in this phase, and then once we talk about how to do a new garden, then we'll talk about, you know, the other steps for once the garden's up and running. So with that said, this will be the intro. I'm running solo here for the moment, so I'm going to stop the video and then start doing some footage. This is for my editors that are helping me. I'm going to do some footage on exactly what you need to do to take, you know, grass and turn it into a garden. Okay? Okay, so again, I'm running solo, so you're going to have to bear with me for the lack of professionalism of the video. But we're going to talk about how to start your garden from scratch, for those of you who don't already have a garden. And it's primarily here in Florida, but some of what I talk about may be applicable to where you're at. But you can see my garden is kind of a raised bed, and you know, it's a little bit of overkill. I have concrete block lining the garden, but it works really great. So if you got the space and you got the good back and you got the time, this is an excellent way to do it. But you can do a garden with no borders. And to start with, I mean, that's how I started this one. I had no borders. I think I took some little small red bricks, such as, see, where do I have red bricks? Such as these. And I used that to outline the edges of my garden. But the first step really is getting rid of this grass. And I'm down to very little bit of grass in my yard. And there's a couple ways that I found effective to do it. You know, the best way is to try and kill the grass first before you remove it. And I have found that the best way is to use black plastic and to lay it out in the spot that you want to create. But since I don't have black plastic here available, I'm just going to show you with a tarp. So you would spread it out into the area that you've determined. And by the way, the sunnier the better. And you spread it out and maybe put something on the corners. And in a few days, the heat from the sun, as well as the lack of oxygen, it being trapped underneath this black plastic with our good sun, in a few days that grass will start turning yellow and you'll kill it. So there are other ways to do it. You can use a tiller, and this really isn't built for that kind of work of breaking up grass, but they have bigger ones. You can rent them. You may have a friend that has one, and it's got these tines. And if your grass is, if you got a good enough tiller, it will chop it all up. And being in these sandy soils here in Florida is quite easier than if you are in mucky soils. So getting the grass removed and getting your area established is step one to doing this. We've got sandy soils. So once you get the grass removed, then we're going to talk about layout of the garden. Okay, and so if you use a tiller and you bust it all up, you got to take the grass out. And the same if you kill it with the tarp or the black plastic, you need to remove the grass, because even if it's mostly dead, and you want it to not have water. You want to make sure it doesn't get water. If you use only the tiller, make sure that area goes dry, and get out there a few days in a row, and you'll see the grass trying to make a comeback. It's pretty tough stuff, and every day sort of rake it up and remove any last roots. The main thing you want to get out is the roots. Remove any last roots. So now we're gonna, editors, we're gonna stop, and I'm gonna stop this video, and we'll go on to the next video where I'll talk about laying out the garden. To finish up on getting your garden started, you've removed the grass, and you probably are going to put an edge around it. And it can be raised garden or it can be flat on the ground, but it's good to put some sort of edging around it to keep the weeds out, and it makes your job a little bit easier. Whether it's raised or not, there's different materials. The one material you don't want to use is pressure treated wood, because that poison that they put in the wood to keep the termites out of it will leach into your soil and will uptake into your food. So I really think bricks of some sort, whether they're red bricks or larger bricks, are ideal. But now I've seen some really nice systems using that the plastic decking that you see in there. And I've even seen some real nice kits from Costco that are using that same material, that plastic decking material. And that stuff really is bulletproof. It'll hold up to the weather, which is what you want. That's why I like to use bricks. And it doesn't leach into your soil like wood would, like wood would do. And so that's another good material to use, and you can just be creative. So you'll need to decide if you want it raised at all, like I've raised mine a little bit, if you can be flat on the ground. And I started flat, as I mentioned earlier, and over time my garden has evolved, and that may be what happens with you as well. So I hope this has been helpful, and we'll see you in the next episodes. Thanks very much. Be well.